Yo everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a review as well as a demo of two of the latest products by Huda Beauty's GloWish, and that is first off the Luminous pressed powder as well as the blushes, which are called the Cheeky Vegan blush powders. There are four altogether and I have all four to share with you guys today. But first off, let's start off with the actual pressed powder foundation type of product. So this retails at £29 and it is a pressed powder and it is 10 grams, made in Italy, and the shade that I bought mine in was number 3 light. Now altogether there are 13 stretchable shades, same as there was with the skin tint, and apparently the shades of the skin tint are exactly the same in the pressed powder. Now for the skin tint I bought the shade medium, and it was a little bit too dark for me at the time because I built it up to at least medium coverage, and I actually did try later on the next shade up, which was light medium, not realizing that it had neutral undertones and it made me look a bit weird. This time round I went for light, which is described as light skin tones with peachy undertones. In all fairness, Fair Light number 2 is with fair light skin tones with golden undertones. I actually have golden undertones, and I actually find in terms of the 13 shades, the golden undertones, they're quite varied. So for example, it would either be Fair Light number 2 going all the way down to number 6 Medium Tan, which has golden undertones, and then obviously a lot more deeper, and that's pretty much it. And the whole purpose of stretchable shades is that, like, this one shade for example should be able to fit at least 3 or 4 different types of skin tones, which are fairly similar but still a little bit different. However, again, this is down to how you apply it. If you go in with very light hand, it will work for you, but if you build it up to more medium coverage, then you need to get a more of a perfect match. I'm fairly happy with this. I'm not too upset, which you will see when I apply it to my face. Now let me just quickly read what they say before I do my demo of this. It says Huda Beauty GloWish Luminous Pressed Powder is a smoothing, breathable, luminous pressed powder to give you coverage without the cake. Infused with antioxidants and skin-loving ingredients like Damascus rose oil, vitamin E and red bell pepper extract, the radiant formula adds a lightweight, natural-looking silky glow to the skin, blurring pores without settling to fine lines. Available in 13 stretchable shades and suitable for all skin tones. This fragrance-free, transfer-proof, superfine formula is non-drying and 80% naturally derived. The powder is beautifully buildable and applies like butter. Not only will your skin have a luminous glow all day, 8 hours to be exact, you'll feel like you're wearing nothing at all thanks to the light coverage. It's vegan, cruelty-free, non-comedogenic, comes in FSC certified and 100% recyclable packaging, which is this right here. The compact is also made from 30% PCR material, which is post-consumer recycled. So for those of you that are new to Huda Beauty's GloWish range, the GloWish range itself is a mix of makeup and skincare combined. Personally, I like to separate mine out, but as I am a big fan of Huda Beauty, plus the fact that these days I actually tend to go for a lot more lighter coverage in terms of my foundation and my base products, because I'm so much more happier with my skin than I used to be. Now, just to mention before I go into a demo, is that I've got textured skin. It is not as textured as it used to be because of the fact that I use a derma roller, I use acids and that sort of thing. I use majority Korean skincare on a daily basis. Right now I've done my cleanser, toner, my serum, my moisturizer and my sunscreen, which is what I've got on my face right now. There's nothing else on my face. Let me just take out my nose stud before I start this demo. And when I see something marketed as blurring pores, I also like to consider that to be blurring texture as well, because they're not too dissimilar. Texture definitely stands out a lot more. I personally tend to stay away from products that are marketed as luminous, purely because I find sometimes that luminous products contain little bits of sparkle which can actually emphasize texture on the skin, and I don't want to go back 5 years. So just to quickly share with you what the packaging looks like, it's got the GloWish logo on the front, which is obviously holographic in this frosty kind of material. Then you open it up and inside is the product itself. You can see that it's a powder, it's quite fine, and it does feel like butter on the skin. When you blend it in, it blends in very easily and it's very soft. Now the way that it has been marketed in the public realm, as in on places like Instagram and Huda's website, they have released brushes to go with this range, and they have also released sponges. Now it's completely up to you what you choose to use as your tool of choice. I have used a beauty blender and I don't really like the way that it goes onto the skin. I prefer to actually use a dense brush like this one. It is clean, it's just a bit stained Damn you, Estee Lauder Double Wear. This is the Morphe M439 Deluxe Buffer Brush, and what I find with dense brushes such as this is that they pick up powder very, very well, and therefore you can apply it easily onto the skin and build up that coverage quite fast. So what I'm going to do today is I am going to apply this with this brush. I'm going to go in with a fairly light hand, and then I'm going to do a second layer just to show you guys how you can build up that pigment. So I've applied that much to it. What I've done just now is just basically applied it to one side of my face just so that you guys can see what it looks like just with half my face done, what the coverage is like and how it will work against your skin tone or skin type depending on how similar it is to mine. Now as you can see, I've gone in with a fairly light hand, but you can see the difference between that side and that side. I generally tend to get red cheeks when I'm a little bit hot, and I am feeling a little bit warm. It's quite muggy today in London, so my cheeks are showing that redness. The shininess that I had, mostly down to the skincare products that I had on my face, has slowly dissipated, and you can see that my face doesn't look as shiny right now. It gives a nice little bit of coverage, evens out the skin nicely, doesn't go too overboard, and again that is just with one very simple and light layer. It blends in super easily like you just saw, minimal blending needed because it's not a liquid product, so it goes in very nicely onto the skin. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go in with the same side, and I'm going to build up that coverage just so that you guys can again see what it looks like in comparison to a bare face. So again, I'm going to go in with a second hand and build that up right here. And build it up mostly in those areas where I need that extra coverage, which is generally this area right here, which is where the majority of my scarring and marks from acne as a teenager have concentrated on in my life. Okay, so there you go with a second layer. Now you can see that that coverage has definitely been built up. You can definitely see that you can't really see much of the marks on my face. In terms of blurring out the pores and texture, we'll get to that in a minute when I've done the rest of my face. But this is just to give you guys an idea of how it would look if you were to go in with two light-ish kind of layers, and it definitely builds up to a more medium sort of coverage. So here you can see is the side with the Luminous pressed powder on it, and here is the side with nothing. Alright, so what I'm going to quickly do now is I'm going to do the other side as well. I'm just going to fast forward through it, to be honest, because it's exactly the same. I just wanted you guys to have a comparison of each side in terms of coverage. Alright, so now that you can see both sides of my face is done, oh my god, I can't lie, I absolutely hate this powder. It's not for me personally, it's not for me. Look at the texture. Why is this powder setting me back 5 years in my skin journey? Now, don't get me wrong, everybody's skin has some form of texture, but this is not it. I don't want to look like a 10-day-old orange. I don't need my skin to look like the surface of the moon, and that's exactly what this is making me look like. It makes me look aged. It doesn't make me look nice at all. Luminous, yes, definitely. But you know what? It's like got a golden glow to it almost, which just emphasizes the texture way too much. Now, for those people out there that have been blessed enough to have perfect skin, you may not mind this as much as somebody like me. However, you have to also ask yourself the question, do you want your entire face to look kind of shiny? It doesn't have that shiny, oily sort of shine, but it definitely has shine to it, a sheen to it. Now, I can't have a go at the brand because it is called a Luminous pressed powder. It's completely in the name, obviously. So you can't be like, oh my God, I'm so surprised that it makes me look luminous. because it's in the name, it's supposed to. I mean, using it on its own like this, for many people will definitely be a no-no. Now, for those people out there that may want to use this to set their foundation, that's completely different, because you can use this as a setting powder because it is obviously a pressed powder too. Now, let's quickly look at what they said. So it's a radiant formula that adds lightweight, natural looking, silky glow to the skin. There's nothing natural about this. Nobody's skin naturally looks luminous like this. Blurring pores without settling into fine lines. Now, I don't have any fine lines, but it definitely does not blur pores. It emphasizes pores as well as texture on the face. So if you're like me and you've already got enlarged pores, tick, and you've got texture, tick, let's just say your skin's going to look absolutely awful and it's going to look older than it actually is as well. It says that it's transfer proof. It's definitely not transfer proof. One wipe of that will show you. There you go. There it is on the tissue. Look. There. How is that transfer proof? That's not transfer proof. And I've just left a nice little mark. Let me just quickly fix that. So it's not transfer proof. However, that may also have to do with the amount that I've put on my face, to be fair, because the less you apply, the less likely it is to transfer, which kind of is common sense, really. Super fine formula. Yep, it is definitely super fine. It is very blendable. It is very easy to blend onto the skin. It has got a nice buttery soft texture. It does kick up a little bit of powder when you actually brush your brush in, or your beauty blender in, or your beauty sponge in. However, I don't find that it kicks up so much powder that it will finish very fast either, so it's quite densely packed, which is a plus. All the skincare ingredients is great. However, I don't care about any of those if my skin looks like this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to finish off a little bit more of my makeup before I actually show you the new GloWish blushes, and then I'll give you my overall summary at the end. Alright, so I've done my under eye concealer. I have set my under eye concealer, finished off my eye makeup. I've applied bronzer and contoured my cheeks as well as my nose, even though I'm still aware of how flipping golden shiny that I look. Oh, I just can't stand it. All right, so next up, as part of this release, were also a bunch of blushes, 4 to be exact, and I've got all 4 of them here for you guys today. They cost £18 each, which is quite pricey, but again, the price range of GloWish is very similar to Huda Beauty's, and they're quite small at 2.5 grams. So again, it'll be up to you whether or not you think that it is worth spending that amount of money on such a tiny little blush. In all honesty, I don't actually get through blushes that quickly, so for somebody like me, it's not so bad. So let me just read to you the product description so that you guys are aware of what the claims are in regards to this product in particular. It says, a velvety blush with a marbled formula developed to give all skin tones a beautifully natural, fresh faced flush of colour and soft focus glow. Infused with antioxidants and skin loving ingredients like Damascus rose oil, red bell pepper extract, plant derived squalene, shea butter and vitamin E, this non-powdery skin blurring blush gives your cheeks a silky wash of colour that's super buildable. Available in 4 versatile shades, the buttery radiant formula is non-drying and 90% naturally derived. It blends seamlessly thanks to the non-powdery texture, feels so comfortable on the skin, and is super long lasting, 12 hours to be exact, vegan, cruelty free, etc, FSC certified, just like the pressed powder as well. Just so that you guys can see what the packaging is like, looks like this. The same colour is on every single one, by the way, so the colour on the front is not reflective of what's inside. It tells you the colour on the back. And then you open it up and inside is the blush with a tiny little mirror on the top. I don't know about you guys, I actually prefer the packaging of this to the ones like this and the bronzer as well. I just don't like the frosty kind of look to it. I feel it's a little bit of a cheapy kind of look, whereas I find that this one with the more block sort of colours is a little bit more sophisticated and a little bit nicer to apply on your vanity as well. So the one I'm going to apply to my face today, this berry toned one, I've got purple on my eyes. I'm using Huda Beauty's lilac pastels on my eyes, and obviously I've got my jumper is all pastel, and I'm going to be wearing pinkish mauvey sort of lips, so I think I'm going to try this one out. And I'm going to be using this brush. This is the e.l.f. complexion brush. I always use this for blushes. And all you need to basically do is just go in. I go in a little bit heavy. It depends on what the colour is like. I generally tend to apply blushes to the back part of my cheek. I never drag it all the way in. It should always be down to your face shape. Now, I've got like an oval sort of shape. If I apply it to the centre of my cheeks, my face will look wider. I want my face to look slightly narrower, so I will apply it to the back part of my cheeks. That's generally the rule of thumb when it comes to blushes. Also, when you generally apply it there, I think it looks a little bit clownish as well, but that's just my opinion, to be honest. And that's it. Wow. Just went in twice, maybe a little bit more, just to be extra for video. Whoa, whoa. Okay, that is heavily pigmented, heavily pigmented. Let's do the other side too now. Wow. I think I've got too much on. Let me just use this brush and just tone it down a little bit. But at least that way you get to see that it is definitely, all of these shades, in all fairness, will go with all skin tones. Even the lightest one, you just have to build it up a little bit more heavily. But I love the way that it applies to the skin. It feels so lovely and soft. It's actually made the texture look a little bit less because it hasn't got that same luminosity as the powder has. But overall, I really like the way that it performs. A minimal amount is needed. And because, like they said, it is non-powdery, I don't think you noticed, I didn't do that. You know, a lot of people do that when it comes to powder blushes because it kicks up so much powder. It doesn't happen with this, which means that these will actually last you quite a long time because you don't get that extra kind of wastage. Also, because they're marbled as well, it means that every time you may get a similar-ish sort of colour. I think it also just depends on which one you happen to get. Because they're poured and they're marble, you may get more of one colour than another because they've all got like a mixture of shades inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly swatch them for you guys, starting from the lightest to the deepest, just so that you guys can see. Bear in mind that a finger swatch is not the same as applying it with a powder brush, but I just want you guys to see what it's like in its strongest terms. So this one we've got is called Healthy Peach, and here you can just about see it. Bear in mind it is a light kind of blush, but on my medium skin tone it shows up beautifully. Right, next up we have this one here, which is called Caring Coral. Absolutely beautiful rosy coral shade, as they have described it as. Stunning, gorgeous for all skin tones, all skin types. Next up we've got Berry Juicy. Absolutely gorgeous berry tone shade, which is the one I'm wearing on my cheeks right now. Look amazing for the autumn fall season. And last but not least, we've got this one here, which is called Charming Cherry. Whoa, look at that one. Now that is a super bright cherry shade. Absolutely stunning, highly pigmented and gorgeous. And just so that you can see them from a distance, this is what they look like. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to finish off the rest of my makeup, come back and finish off my review to let you know my overall thoughts of both the pressed powder as well as the blushes. All right, the rest of my makeup is complete. Just to let you know, on my lips I'm wearing Huda Beauty's Trophy Wife, which is one of my hands down favorite lipstick shades ever. So let's start off first off with how my skin looks as a result of this. Don't lie to me, it don't look good. It looks awful. And what happened was, because I've got this as my base product, I've put my highlighter on top, which, bear in mind, is a Huda Beauty highlighter, which I absolutely adore. You guys know it's always in my monthly favorites videos. This has now accentuated the texture even more as a result of using this. Whereas when I normally wear this with any other kind of base product, that does not happen. And because of that, I'm just not really happy with this at all. It makes my skin look aged. It doesn't look nice. It doesn't look flattering. I look older than I actually am. And I'm at that age where I don't want to be looking older than I actually am. I'm all for looking youthful, lush, plump, whereas I feel aged, dry and decrepit. My skin feels absolutely soft, don't get me wrong. This is a beautifully soft and blendable powder and it will sit nicely on your skin, but visually, to look at it, it don't look nice at all. It looks like I've actually got too much makeup on as a result of this just emphasizing all the texture because of the fact that it is a luminous product. When you look at it up close, you can just about see a kind of a sheen over it, which is obviously then going to replicate itself onto your face. In terms of its longevity, I noticed that after about 6 to 7 hours, my skin started to actually get shiny, because bear in mind, like with a normal base product like a liquid foundation or a cream foundation, you generally set it with a setting powder. You don't set this because it's already a kind of setting powder. So what happened is there was nothing to keep it in place. The oil started to escape from my skin. I noticed separation around my chin area. Because I have got combination skin, which means that I get an oily T-zone, looked shiny. I had separation around my nose. It had started to gather where I smile, like my those lines there, those jowl lines or whatever they're called. It had started to separate and I looked even older by the end of the evening, and it hadn't even hit hour 8. So I can only imagine how bad it would look after a certain amount of time. For me, this I would probably give a 6 out of 10. I think there will be people out there that do like this because they like that luminous look. I do hope that GloWish comes out with a matte version of this because I'm sure it would perform a lot better. Now moving on to the actual blushes themselves, I give them a straight 10 out of 10. Whereas this let me down so much these four definitely made up for it. They're absolutely excellent in quality. They last a long time. They look gorgeous. They're heavily pigmented. A little bit goes a long way. They actually lasted longer on my face than the pressed powder itself. Once that had started to wear away throughout the day, I noticed that my cheeks still retained a nice rosy look. It also does blur pores definitely, because like I said, this area here is definitely more texturized right now than that area here, whereas I've got texture in both areas. So this actually managed to save the day. It's also buildable, and I would definitely say that this gives a really nice soft glowy kind of look to the skin and would work well with all skin types. So that's it for my review of the GloWish Luminous Pressed Powder, as well as the Cheeky Vegan blush powders. Like I said, excellent, not so good. So at least it wasn't a complete waste. So hopefully you guys will be able to make a decision based on what I've shown you guys, what you've seen yourselves. Other than that, I hope you guys are wonderful and great, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.